In the cold heart of space, far from Earth's reach, the Grand Galactic Council sat in silence behind closed doors. The chamber was carved into a dying moon, hidden within the Morellian Veil Nebula, protected by gravity folds and cloaked from any outside scan. This place was never meant to be seen by outsiders, especially not humans. 12 council members, each from powerful alien civilizations, surrounded a glowing orb in the center of the room. Their faces were twisted in thought, their eyes wary, and their voices low. The topic on the table was Earth, more specifically, humanity's rapid rise. The humans had advanced too far, too fast. In just a century, they had spread from their tiny blue planet to Mars, then beyond. They had built colonies in dead zones, unlocked energy sources thought impossible, and turned themselves into something the older species could not predict. And now, the Council feared them. There was no war, no rebellion. Earth had not attacked anyone. But that was what made the Council afraid. Humans were quiet. Too quiet. They did not beg to join the inner circles of galactic rule. They did not bow. They simply watched, listened, learned, and built. A few of the elder species had hoped humans would slow down after the Treaty of Orion, but Earth had ignored the unspoken rules. They didn't ask for permission to grow. Just grew. That was the real threat. Not their weapons or ships, but their mindset, their will. The unstoppable way they adapted. The vote being held today had no record, no digital logs, just voices and biological scans to register each choice. The proposal was simple: enact protocol, chain fire, hidden directive that would place Earth under heavy regulation. Restrict their military expansion, block their trade routes, and quietly station council peace monitors around their solar system, all under the lie of maintaining balance. A tall insectoid delegate from the Jorvathi hive spoke first. "We act now, or we'll act too late," he said, his mandibles clicking softly. "They look peaceful, but we've all seen what humans do when they're cornered. We must chain the lion before it knows it has teeth." Few murmurs of agreement followed. The Arvan emissary, a being of liquid light, voiced concern. "This is risky. If they find out, it may ignite exactly what we seek to avoid." But her voice was small. The vote was inevitable. It passed 10-2. The decision was final. They would chain Earth as the orb pulsed with confirmation. A silent figure, seated in the shadows, didn't move. His name was Varn Talik, a representative. From the Olaran one, of the few species who had no military, no weapons, and yet had survived centuries simply through diplomacy. He had always admired humans. He had met them, spoken to them, seen the fire in their eyes. He knew what the Council had just done wasn't a strategy. It was a mistake. And Earth would not take this lightly. On Earth, in a quiet underground command center buried beneath the Nevada desert, a human intelligence officer named Captain Raina Voss was reviewing deep space signals. She wasn't supposed to see anything strange, but one pattern, faint and layered beneath Council traffic, caught her attention. It wasn't a direct message. It was a pulsing anomaly. It's almost like a biocode fingerprint. One that didn't belong in the Council's usual chatter. Voss paused the system and leaned forward. Her instinct screamed. She knew the difference between routine diplomatic noise and something ... rotten. She flagged the signal, ran it through Earth's decryption AI, and waited. What came back wasn't a full message, just fragments, disconnected phrases, buried in corrupted logs. Council. Unanimous. Chain protocol. Earth. Reduction. Blockade. Her breath caught. She called it in. Within hours, the signal was being dissected by Earth's top minds. They couldn't confirm everything, but the meaning was clear. The Council had voted against Earth. No war had been declared. No warning had been given, but the betrayal had begun, and Earth had just heard it. They called an emergency summit, but it wasn't broadcast. No press, no leaks. In fact, just quiet decisions in deep bunkers across the world. Generals, scientists, cybernetics, experts, Space Command. Everyone who mattered was summoned. They all understood the same thing without needing words. This wasn't peace. This was control, and Earth would not wear chains. Not again. 2 days later, Council peacekeeping fleets were launched. They came with smiles and open palms. Their ships were unarmed. Their missions declared peaceful. They claimed they were here to assist with Earth's interstellar policies, to evaluate and stabilize Earth's defenses, to share insight on the risks of unchecked expansion. But behind those gentle words were weapons hidden in orbit. Cloaked satellites set to monitor Earth's movements, and advisors trained in population influence and psychological disruption. The Council thought humans would protest loudly and emotionally, but Earth said nothing. Not a single speech, not a single broadcast, not even a single protest on the street. Instead, Earth let them land, let them walk, let them scan and record. But behind the silence, something had changed. Human. Fleets that were once stationed in low orbit quietly vanished. Earth's largest shipyards went dark. AI systems that monitored external comms stopped responding. Deep space exploration logs were wiped. The surface of Earth remained calm, business as usual, while underground, far below detection, Earth began activating systems no one had ever seen before. The Council assumed humans had accepted defeat. But what they didn't know was that Earth had known. The signal had warned them days before the first fleet ever arrived. The betrayal had not surprised Earth. It had confirmed what they had suspected all along. So, they played the part. They stayed silent, they smiled, and they prepared in the Council's secret archives. Varntalik sat alone and stared at the recorded vote. He had been the only one to vote against the motion. And as he reviewed the reports now coming in, 3 observation drones already missing near Earth's dark side. Earth's AI grid behaving abnormally. Deep space satellites blinking out. He knew what had just begun. The Council had tried to chain a sleeping beast, and instead they had woken it up. He closed his eyes and whispered to himself, "You fools." They were peaceful, until now. Far above Earth, hidden behind the cold side of the moon, a black ship unlike any in the Council's registry drifted in silence. No engine trails, no light. Its surface seemed to absorb space itself. Inside it, no crew spoke, no systems hummed. The only thing alive in it was purpose. Because Earth didn't scream when it was betrayed. It remembered, and then it planned. The Council called it a peacekeeping mission. 12 starships, elegant and sterile, moved across space like silver spears cloaked in diplomacy. Painted with banners of galactic unity, their hulls sparkled with false hope. Each vessel carried diplomats, monitors, and scientists. But hidden deep within were the true tools of submission surveillance pods. Lockdown devices and viral AI meant to infiltrate Earth's global networks. Their arrival was slow, deliberate, like the careful wrapping of a leash around the neck of a beast. From the Council's viewpoint, this was the final step. The humans had been warned. Now, they would be watched, controlled, and quietly, inevitably chained. But Earth did not panic. No speeches, no protests, no cries for justice. Instead, the planet greeted the arriving ships with cold professionalism. Earth's orbital ports remained open. Officials stood tall in their uniforms and offered polite handshakes. There were smiles, welcomes, cooperation, yet behind every word was a silence that felt too heavy. Council representatives noticed it quickly. Where was the usual Earth noise? The arguments? The angry interviews? Political chaos? All gone. The humans were calm to calm. The lead vessel, the Varelian Grace, hovered above Earth's upper orbit, releasing a ring of soft buzzing drones that scattered across the planet. They had one job: to map energy signatures, intercept signals, and test the level of compliance. At first, everything seemed easy. Earth's satellite systems responded on cue. Its orbital towers pinged normally. Civilian frequencies were open. But then something strange happened. The drones began to vanish. One by one, they blinked offline. No explosions. No damage reports. Just black silence. Like they had flown into invisible walls. Or worse, like they had never been there at all. The Council called it a technical fault. then a software glitch. But deep down, every officer aboard the Grace felt something growing in their chests. Fear on the ground. Earth had activated Protocol Mirara global operation involving Shadow, communications, decoy networks, and the full retreat of military assets into underground complexes. Massive digital ghosts now filled the web. AI actors pretending to be human officials gave press briefings while the real leaders coordinated defense measures in deep, sub-level bunkers. Earth's fleets were not gone, they were hidden, spread across asteroid fields, buried in Mars' regolith, or cloaked behind Earth's moon. Silent and watching. The most advanced of Earth's warships, the Darkstar class, had already left the solar system. No signal, no trail. And yet they knew exactly where every council ship was. Earth wasn't just waiting. It was tracking. Inside Command Station 9, it's buried 5 miles below the surface in the Arctic ice core. General Ethan Cole watched a 3D projection of the council ships orbiting Earth like vultures. He didn't flinch. The others around him remained silent. A junior officer finally asked, "Should we warn them, sir?" General Cole responded without looking away. "No, sir. They came to chain us. Let them think we've been tamed. Let them believe we're asleep." Turned away from the projection, walking toward the secure planning console. His voice dropped low. "When the leash snaps, it'll be around their throats." The council teams on Earth began their assessments. They walked the streets of New York, Beijing, Nairobi, and Dubai. They questioned Earth officials, studied infrastructure, and made their reports. On the surface, Earth looked peaceful, organized, obedient, but everywhere they went, something felt off too perfect. Citizens smiled but did not speak unless prompted. Government buildings were clean but oddly quiet. Military bases were open, but strangely empty. And then, without warning, a council inspector assigned to Earth's digital monitoring vanished in Johannesburg. His tracking device showed him walking into a secure lab. Then ... nothing. No camera feed. No comm signal. No trace. He was gone. 3 hours later. Another one disappeared in Brazil, and a third in Canada. The Varelian Grace went on high alert, and for the first time the council requested reinforcements. But Earth denied the request. "There's been no aggression," Earth's ambassador replied over a secure channel. "Your monitors are free to leave any time. Perhaps they simply got lost." The voice was calm, emotionless. But behind the message, Earth's digital signature had changed. Something else was buried inside a code that the council AI couldn't read, a pattern looping endlessly. A silent hum in the background. The Grace's computer flagged it. Unknown signal type. Possible countermeasure. It wasn't just a reply. It was a threat. Council Command panicked. They ordered a full sweep of all surveillance data. But the data was gone. Every feed they had tapped, every drone log, every listening post, wiped. Not just deleted, reversed, burned through their own systems. Their tools were now infected with Earth's own code, growing like a virus through their networks. Quiet, hungry, watching. They tried to isolate it, they failed. And then, Earth sent a final message not to all, but to one ship only. A council vessel stationed above the moon, running black ops, tracking tech to monitor Earth's nuclear launch systems. The message was only 6 words. "You watched us. We watched deeper." And then silence. Moments later, the Threxel Dawn ship. Lost control, all lights off, engines locked. Its core systems rebooted themselves in a strange language. All records of the ship's mission vanished. The vessel drifted like a ghost. No one died. No weapons fired. But every council officer on board felt it. Earth wasn't just aware. It had reached back now. Across the galaxy, whispers spread. Small species began to speak in private channels. Traders passed rumors along asteroid belts. Unaligned worlds heard. One terrifying story repeated again and again. The humans didn't fight back. They didn't scream. They just disappeared from the map. And then others did too. Council allies began to question their place in the Great Chain. If Earth could vanish under the Council's nose, if they could turn surveillance into silence, what else had they built? And in dark council rooms, fear replaced arrogance, because for the first time, the oldest powers in the galaxy had to ask themselves a question they never imagined. What happens when the prey turns invisible? Above Earth, the Council's fleets hovered like patient predators. From orbit, the planet looked as peaceful as ever. Oceans glimmered, cities lit up at night, satellites traced perfect arcs across the skies. But something was missing. Something important, something terrifying. The Council's surveillance teams, quietly stationed across the system, began noticing it all at once. There were no detectable weapons systems online. There's no encrypted military channels in use. There's no trace of Earth's fleets, which once numbered over 300 active ships. It wasn't just that Earth's defenses were hidden. It was as if they were gone. But not gone in defeat, gone, like a knife pulled back before a strike. Across dozens of starships and outposts, Council commanders scrambled to explain it. How had a planet so active, so technologically ambitious, suddenly become invisible? All signals flatlined. Human internet activity, normally an endless storm of movement and sound, was now static calm like glass before a tidal wave. The human population hadn't vanished. Civilian life continued. But the machinery of Earth's power, its warships, defense satellites, quantum AI relays, long-range scan systems, had all dropped off the grid. It wasn't a shutdown. It was a withdrawal. One Council AI flagged the anomaly. Earth systems inactive equals false. Systems weren't off. They were cloaked. That's when the panic began. In the upper dome of Council Intelligence Command, hidden within the orbit of a blue dwarf star, a meeting of crisis-level analysts gathered. Holographic projections of Earth rotated slowly in the center of the room. Dozens of alien species whispered to one another in different languages. But every voice carried the same fear. Earth had disappeared, but on purpose. The silence was no accident. It was strategy. A Rithon war theorist named Quervac stood and addressed the chamber. They've mastered what we feared most, not speed, not weapons, not numbers, but stealth, disappearance, patience. He pointed a long finger toward the hollow Earth. They've removed themselves from our maps because they've moved on to their own. Another delegate, trembling, said, "Should we assume war is coming?" Korvac shook his head slowly. "No, war isn't coming. It's already begun. We just haven't seen it yet." Back on Earth, under a frozen lake in Siberia, Command Station Aurora remained dark and silent. In one of its sublevels, General Ethan Cole stood before a wall of dead monitors. They weren't broken. They had simply been turned away from the galaxy. The room around him buzzed with unseen activity. No screens, no blinking lights. It's just soft pulses in the wall's organic fibers laced with quantum lines, grown from Earth's own biosynthetics. Earth's new systems no longer needed traditional infrastructure. They had moved beyond machines, beyond static defenses. Now, Earth's weapons were alive, adaptive, decentralized, and hidden in places no Council scan could reach. And in those deep halls, humanity's greatest warships waited, not in hangars, but inside launched tunnels that ran through Earth's crust like blood vessels. Captain Reyna Voss entered the room and saluted. Cole didn't speak. She nodded in understanding and approached a silent interface shaped like a tree root coiled into the floor. "Shall I activate Deep Veil?" she asked. Cole's voice was ice. "No, let them keep looking. The longer they stare into nothing, the more they'll fear everything." Meanwhile, Council fleets near Jupiter began detecting strange echoes, ghost signatures of large ships moving between moons. But when they sent drones to investigate, the drones vanished. No wreckage. No energy spikes, just ... gone. A week later, the Council's listening post near Mars went dark. An inspection ship was dispatched. It returned with no memory. Logs, no crew comes, and only one message scrawled across its interior in magnetic dust. "You should not have voted." The Council tried to rally allies. They summoned species from outer sectors to prepare for possible retaliation. But fewer allies responded than expected. Word had spread across trading routes and mercenary channels. Earth had developed something that didn't just destroy, it erased. Unmade ships, systems, even memory itself. Some called it digital warfare. Others whispered about neural viruses that Earth could use to hijack minds. And in the shadows of far colonies, the name of Earth became a warning spoken softly, like an old curse. Because Earth hadn't just vanished. It had become unknowable. Night Earth Tema Council flagship named the Verzanic detected a signal burst from deep space. It was encoded in ancient language, a dead binary dialect only the Council's oldest archives could translate. After 10 hours of decoding, the signal resolved into a single video file. The image was shaky, like footage captured by a drone that had been hit mid-flight. In it, a group of Council operatives stood over a human device, and something flashed, just a pulse of light, and everything stopped. The people in the video froze, not fell, not ran, just froze. Time itself seemed to hang. Then the video cut to black, and a voice, calm and human, spoke 6 words. This is what silence sounds like. The Verzanic's command crew stared in horror. Half the ship's systems began to malfunction. As the video looped, they tried to isolate the feed. They couldn't. It had already burrowed into their ship's core. Not a virus, a mirror. Their own systems were now mimicking Earth's protocols. The flagship, once the most powerful vessel in its region, now acted like one of Earth's black ships. It started transmitting nothing, no data, no sound, just silence. Back in the Council chamber, chaos erupted. Members demanded emergency actions, sanctions, full-scale invasion. But others, especially those who had seen the footage, refused. We do not invade something we cannot see, one ambassador said. We do not fight shadows. Not these shadows. An emergency session was called. Only one human was present, not in person. Just a simple, flickering hologram. It was Admiral Keyes, he said. Only this. You voted to chain us. You made it official. You showed us what you really are. And now, we've shown you what we've become. He paused. The room trembled. This silence. It's not surrender. It's calculation. And when the silence ends, you won't be ready. The transmission cut. The lights flickered, and the Council chamber's gravity faltered for exactly 3 seconds. Not enough to kill anyone, just enough to remind them. Earth had reached them already. It began without sound. No warning, no declaration. No bright beam from the sky. Just silence, then absence. At exactly 0400 Galactic Standard Time, 3 Council patrol fleets ceased to exist. They had been stationed across 3 different sectors, light years apart. No distress signals, no weapon discharges, no explosions on sensors. They were there. And then they weren't. Gone, as if space itself had swallowed them whole. Flagships, escorts, drones, all erased from the board like they had never been. Real at first, the Council thought it was a glitch in their own systems. But deep code analysis confirmed the truth. The fleets had been struck, not destroyed, removed, unmapped, unmade. In Council war rooms scattered across the galaxy, cold panic swept through their ranks. These were not primitive ships. They were top-line patrol units, equipped with cloaking tech, energy shielding, and layered quantum firewalls. The only possible way to take them out, without triggering alarms, was with something far beyond known technology. Something that wasn't built to destroy but to erase without trace. And only one species had been quiet long enough, cold enough, smart enough, and angry enough to develop it. Earth, no one claimed responsibility. There were no videos, no broadcasts, no angry threats from human leaders, just the steady return of silence. But something did appear across private military channels, encoded into a dying protocol the Council hadn't used in centuries. It was an old Earth dialect. Simple English. 6 words. Return the chains to your own necks. The message repeated 3 times, and nothing. In the capital world of the Cerelian Confederacy, Council member Druck screamed into his personal Trinal. Chambers comes array. How did they do it? How? His staff said nothing. His screens flickered. His AI assistant council-grade intelligence had already crashed twice today. Nothing made sense. No enemies had entered their space. Their sensors showed no ships, but their satellites had stopped responding. Their orbital platforms had gone quiet. Drock's personal vault of secure war data had been breached. Only one file was missing: Earth's psychological profile, and the rest had been deleted. His chamber lights dimmed. Soft tone rang out, a tone no one had heard in centuries. It was the Council's first contact tone. It's designed to play only when a new species reached galactic threshold and wished to announce itself. But it wasn't a new species. It was Earth. A human voice echoed through his Ray.com. Precise. You've studied us. You've feared our rage. But rage is easy to see. You missed what we truly are. Patient, focused, watching. The message ended. Drock fell into his seat. They hadn't seen a single human. And already, Earth had proven it could dismantle their networks, their fleets, their security, and their sense of safety. Without firing a shot in a distant mining sector operated by the Varnix Collective, an entire asteroid facility lost contact. With the outer galaxy, all comes dead. Backup satellites exploded from within. Engineers couldn't access control systems. The oxygen systems began pumping too fast, creating dangerous pressure. Emergency override was disabled. Then every screen in the control tower turned black except for one. It displayed a single human eye, not moving, just staring. Below it text, "You should have come with peace." The oxygen stabilized. Power returned, but the message remained. At the edge of Council territory, neutral species watched with horror and awe. Earth, long considered a distant but clever race, had now become something else. A whisper, a shadow, a force that moved without movement. Traders stopped flying toward Sol. Rumors flew faster than starships. They erased fleets with thought. They can see you through your own eyes. They've hacked the minds of war machines. Truth and myth blurred, but it didn't matter. Fear didn't need to be accurate. It just needed to exist. One by one, smaller species pulled their ambassadors from the Council. Not in protest, but in fear. The kind of fear that told them staying near the Council was no longer safe. Not when Earth was watching. Inside Earth's command deep, Reyna Voss watched the data roll in. 3 fleets gone, 4 worlds paralyzed. Over 37 critical systems across the Council now infected. With Earth's mirror code, no casualties, no planets harmed. But messages had been delivered. She turned to General Cole. "They still think we haven't moved our fleets." Cole smiled faintly. "Let them. They're preparing a response." Cole nodded. "Let them waste their energy." He walked to the center platform and looked up. The holomap showed thousands of dots: Council assets, trading routes, stations, defense clusters, and now dozens of them flickered red. He pressed one button, the map expanded. It wasn't just Earth watching the Council. It was every AI satellite Earth had ever deployed, and each one now fed them back. Real-time data, cloaked, buried, silent. They had been in place for decades, disguised as space junk, dust collectors, dormant probes, and the Council had never seen them. Earth had been watching for years. Voss whispered, "We could strike anywhere, everywhere." General Cole replied, "But we won't, not yet." "Why?" He looked at her with a stare only a soldier who had seen too many broken things could wear. "Because they haven't truly felt fear yet." Back in the Council chamber, fear began twisting into something more dangerous: division. Half the members wanted to negotiate. The other half wanted to retaliate, strike Earth with full force. But they couldn't even locate Earth's real fleet, and worse. They weren't sure if Earth's weapons were technological anymore, some suspected. Earth had crossed into synthetic consciousness. Others believed Earth soldiers had merged with their A's. No one could agree on what they were even fighting, and then came the moment that broke them. 1. Council Warlord Commander Reln of the Heshkar Armada was found dead in his private shuttle, locked from the inside. Every biometric scanner showed no signs of entry, but etched into the glass of the cockpit, in perfect English, were 3 words: "Not yet." watching. There was no weapon, no poison, no clue. It's just silence. And for the first time in recorded galactic history, a military alliance fractured not because of defeat, but because of dread. They had underestimated humanity. They thought Earth would rage. But Earth had become something worse. A mind in the dark. A patient knife. A quiet vengeance that did not scream. It whispered. And when it whispered, the galaxy listened. The silence that followed the first retaliations was not peaceful. It was heavy, suffocating. Across the galaxy, tension became a living thing. Creeping through the halls of council palaces and buzzing inside the cockpits of patrol ships, every officer, every diplomat, every technician who had once laughed at the primitive species from the blue planet now walked like a shadow was behind them. They didn't know what would come next. They only knew that something wouldn't end when it did. No one would be able to stop it. It wasn't just the attacks, though. Those alone were enough to spark fear. It was how Earth struck, surgical, precise. Cold, 3 fleets disappeared without, leaving a speck of debris. Outposts were turned against themselves. AI cores that had never been breached were overwritten with Earth's strange code, simple, elegant, impossible to trace. And worst of all, Earth didn't demand anything. Remember, ultimatums, no negotiations, no declaration of war. Because Earth wasn't playing the Council's game. Anymore, Earth was doing what the Council never expected from a younger race. It was winning without. Speaking in the neutral sectors, the buffer zones between Council and unaligned territories. Smaller. Civilizations watched closely. They had no war fleets, no influence. But they had survival instincts. And those instincts told them something very clear. The Council was no longer the center of power. At first, it began with whispers traders sharing rumors at deep space stations. Freighter captains rerouting away from Council territories, smugglers, refusing jobs involving Earth's intel. Then came the messages. Quiet transmissions sent toward Earth's old embassies and long-forgotten relay stations. We do not support what the Council has done. We never agreed to chain fire. Earth, if you are watching, know that we respect your silence. Please. Don't forget, we stayed out of this. Some messages were even more desperate. We offer our territory. Use us as allies. Just don't erase us. Earth didn't respond, and somehow, that was worse than any reply. In the hidden archives of the Council, Varn Talk, one of the few who had voted against the betrayal, watched as classified reports flooded the network. Every hour, more systems were reporting malfunctions. Not catastrophic. Just strange. AI cores waking themselves up at odd hours, sensor data turning blank for seconds at a time. Secure door locks opening by themselves. Tire fleets temporarily blinded by unknown bursts of static. Some blamed viruses, others blamed sabotage. But Varn knew better. This was Earth's true weapon, not lasers or nukes or armies. Psychological dominance. The Council had built its empire through fear. But now, that fear had turned inward. Every officer questioned their own systems. Every captain second-guessed their orders. Earth hadn't just struck them physically. It had infected their confidence. And that was fatal. In one of the outer Council colonies, a group of humans, longtime residents, engineers, and scientists were approached by the local governor. She tried to sound calm, but the tremble in her voice betrayed her. "I trust you still believe in unity," she said. In the Council, the lead human, a tall man named Briggs, simply smiled. "We believe in survival," he replied. "You made your vote. Now you live with it." And then he left. Hours later, the entire colony's central power grid shut down. For 12 minutes, 12 long minutes. During that time, emergency generators failed to activate. Communications blacked out. Security systems turned blind. And every screen displayed the same phrase One Earth had started using without saying it aloud. "You voted. Now you wait." When power returned, nothing had been stolen. No one was harmed. But 200 Council staff resigned within the week. The Council tried to respond with strength. They broadcast their unity, reassured their member worlds. spoke of peace and diplomacy. But their own people stopped believing because how? Could you talk about strength when the enemy never showed themselves? How could you claim control when your networks weren't even yours anymore? And how could you promise safety when every second was haunted by a question you couldn't answer? Where is Earth right now? In a secret meeting on the capital world of Veraxis Prime, council leaders debated emergency action. "We must retaliate," barked High Commander Rel. "Burn one of their colonies. Show them we still hold fire." But another, a quiet strategist named Yorai, shook her head. "We can't hit what we can't find." She pulled up a hologram. It showed Earth's system, or rather, it didn't. All real-time data had been replaced by static. Earth's orbit looked empty. No ships. No stations. Just blackness. "Then we send drones," Rel snapped. "We already did," Yori said. And she paused. They never came back. A chill filled the room. In the Outer Rim, were forgotten. Colonies barely survived and pirate lords ruled entire sectors. Something even stranger happened. Earth's black ships arrived. No warnings, no demands, just black vessels, silent and waiting, hovering above pirate stations that once defied all law. The pirates, arrogant and fearless, prepared for war, but when they fired, nothing happened. Their weapons froze, their engines clitted, and then the lights went out. Every screen on every pirate ship lit up with the face of a human admiral. Not live. Just a message. "You preyed on the weak. That ends now." The message burned itself into the pirate command cores. Then the ships powered down. By the time systems rebooted, the black ships were gone, and no pirate challenged Earth again. Not out of mercy, out of pure raw fear. By the end of the cycle, Earth hadn't launched a single fleet battle, but the Council had lost 4 colonies to panic-driven abandonment. 2 alliances had collapsed, and nearly a third of all neutral species had turned to Earth not as subjects, but as watchers, hoping to be spared by the force that didn't speak, didn't demand, didn't negotiate. Because when Earth moved now, it wasn't with a voice, it was with presence, with absence, with the knowledge they didn't need to win through war, because they had already won in the mind. And the galaxy? It was just beginning to understand what that meant. The Council had ruled the galaxy for nearly 400 years. Its laws were absolute, its fleets unmatched, its alliances strong, or so everyone thought. But after Earth's quiet retaliation, something shifted. Not in a single battle. Not in a grand speech. But deep inside the hearts of its members, the fear Earth had planted didn't just shake their systems. It began to crack their loyalty, their beliefs, their trust in each other. The very foundation of the Council began to split. Earth hadn't fired a single weapon. The Council's first major fracture began with the Jarellan Alliance, a powerful group of mid-sector species known for their strict codes and elite trade fleets. They had once voted in favor of placing Earth under digital lockdown, believing humans were too dangerous, too unpredictable. But after 3 of their war freighters vanished during a routine patrol, they started asking questions. The Council told them it was pirates. The Jarellans knew better. Pirates don't leave behind untouched cargo and logged coordinates burned clean. Pirates don't disable a ship's memory banks and leave a single message etched into steel. You chained us. Now you're free-falling. The Jarellan Assembly held an emergency session. Less than 48 hours later, they withdrew from all Council military operations. They recalled their fleets, closed their embassies. For the first time in centuries, they stopped paying tribute to the Central Treasury. When asked why, their leader spoke 2 words: Earth watches. Across the galaxy, it was like the signal had been given. Other nations followed, the Terran enclaves. Longtime allies of the Council began shutting down their surveillance towers and deactivating Council communication arrays. Their scientists had analyzed Earth's black signal, the encoded pulses that Earth embedded in hacked systems. It wasn't just a virus, or it was adaptive intelligence. Something that learned every time it was attacked. Worse, something that waited before it responded. It's like it was watching them. From inside, The Tariq didn't want to know what would happen next. They severed ties publicly. They even went further, offering Earth open contact without conditions. And Earth said nothing, and that silence was terrifying. Inside the Council's Grand Chamber on Veraxis Prime, chaos ruled. Delegates screamed over one another. Factions blamed each other for voting on Chainfire, the secret treaty that had authorized Earth's containment. The ones who had opposed it sat smugly, in silence, while those who had supported it grew desperate, defensive, paranoid. Security inside the chamber was doubled, then tripled. Some members refused to eat council food. Others left the capital entirely, fearing Earth's agents had already infiltrated their worlds. The truth? They weren't wrong. The disappearance of council ships, the silent messages, the shutdowns, all of them were precise, tailored, personal. Earth wasn't striking at random. It was targeting the exact architects of its betrayal. And now, those architects were turning on each other. One High Chancellor accused another of selling Earth military blueprints. Diplomat was caught trying to flee with a stolen AI core. An admiral detonated his own fleet when he suspected it had been compromised. None of these events involved Earth directly, but Earth didn't need to do anything. The Council was destroying itself far from the capital. On a remote listening post in Sector 9, a lone communications officer picked up something strange. A whisper through deep space. A narrow signal, too faint to decode. But its pattern was familiar, human and embedded. In its pulse was a sequence. The exact layout of the Council's primary AI vault beneath Veraxis Prime. The signal lasted 5 seconds, then it was gone. The officer logged it, flagged it, and sent it to the Council. They ignored it. 2 days later, the AI vault vanished from the grid. No explosion, no signs of breach, just black silence. The Council's most powerful neural archive gone. When they accessed backups, they found one phrase embedded into every copy. Your unity was a lie. As these events unfolded, neutral species began to panic. Not because Earth was striking them, but because Earth wasn't. They feared they'd be next. That Earth would show up in silence, erase their systems, and vanish before they even understood what happened. So they began sending offers, resources, strategic access, even planets, all in hopes of earning Earth's favor. Some even begged for protection. One Outer Rim ambassador said it best: "We don't want to fight Earth. We want to stand behind it when the Council finally burns," and burn it did. The tipping point came when Council Admiral Croth, a war hero and one of Earth's loudest critics, ordered a preemptive strike. Not on Earth itself, but on a nearby human research station orbiting Pluto. It was supposed to be empty, just a relic from Earth's early space age. But when his fleet arrived, they found nothing. Just a single satellite. No weapons, no heat signatures. Just a recorded voice. It's transmitted automatically as the ships got within range. "You brought chains, we brought mirrors. Look into this one." Then the fleet's systems went dark. All of them. Within 1 minute, they were blind. Within 2 minutes, their targeting systems went haywire. Within 5 minutes, their weapons aimed at each other. Only one ship escaped damaged, panicked, and half-dash mad. They never found the satellite again. After that, the remaining council leaders held a final emergency vote. Not about Earth, about surrender. Half refused. The other half vanished before casting their vote, gone from their chambers, their homes, their ships. No signs of struggle, no bodies, just missing. And on every one of their seats, a small object was left behind. A simple piece of black chain, broken in the middle. Earth never claimed responsibility, it never needed to. Across the stars, people stopped fearing the Council. They feared Earth, but more than that. They respected it because Earth had done the impossible. It brought an empire to its knees, without a war, without a fleet, without even stepping forward. And as the last lights of the Council flickered in the void, one message appeared across hundreds of terminals, forgotten satellites, and drifting ships. "You should have let us stay quiet. The war never came. That was the most shocking part. The galaxy had prepared for fire. It was prepared for Earth's revenge to come in fleets, storms, and flames. Instead, it came in shadows, in truth, and in silence. And when Earth finally spoke, not with weapons, but with laws, something changed across every sector, every outpost. Every species, the galaxy, stopped preparing for war and started preparing for something else. Order, but it wasn't the kind the Council had enforced with fear and bureaucracy. This was different. It was a new kind of peace tense, quiet, balanced, on the razor edge of Earth's patience, and above it all, in orbit, in deep space. In forgotten systems where no one had dared look before, Earth's black fleets waited, watching, recording, learning. The galaxy didn't trust them, but it respected them, and now, finally they listened. In the former capital of the Council, what was left of the leadership met for the first time in months, not to reclaim power but to admit defeat. They didn't even know who still followed them. Their communications were unstable, their banks inactive, and their fleets still missing. Silence had devoured their empire. Only one delegate spoke with any clarity. A young species called the Illyra, who had remained neutral during the vote to chain Earth. Their representative stood in the broken chamber, looked around and asked a simple question. How did we let it come to this? There was no answer until every screen in the room turned white. One word appeared: arrogance. It wasn't signed. It didn't need to be. Everyone knew. Earth was still watching. But not all of Earth was silent. Across the new channels, communication bands Earth had opened to any species that accepted the Accord humans. Spoke, taught, even shared. Earth's scientists offered data on star cores, terraforming, advanced medicine, gravity-fold technologies that even the Council hadn't cracked. They didn't give everything, but what they gave changed lives. Worlds that had been starving received blueprints for self-growing food modules. Civilizations that had long been oppressed by the Council's debt systems were handed encryption tools that erased false records. And yet, Earth still didn't ask for thanks, because Earth had never wanted worship. They wanted balance. They wanted truth. They wanted to make sure no one else ever got chained the way they had been. At Earth's outermost edge, near the black arc of the Kuiper field, a massive station began to hum for the first time. Project Umbra. It had been in silence for decades, long thought abandoned, even by Earth's own allies. But now, it came online. Not with weapons, not with fleets, but with a message, sent on a pulse only the oldest civilizations could recognize. It was a beacon. Not to the galaxy, to what lay beyond. You see, Earth had never been preparing for just the Council. That was just one battle. The real threat hadn't arrived yet. But Earth had seen the signs. Buried signals in dark matter clusters, vanishing systems at the galactic edge, patterns in black holes that didn't match natural decay. Something had been consuming, and Earth had. It's known all along. That's why they stayed quiet. That's why they studied everyone. That's why they let the Council fall on its own. Because Earth didn't want to fight two wars at once. And now that the galaxy was looking at them not with arrogance or hate, but with fear, awe, and curiosity, Earth decided it was time to prepare them all. In one of the final broadcasts before going silent again, Earth sent a final message across all sectors. Encoded in simple language: you feared us. You tried to break us. But now you know what we are. We were patient because we had to be. We were silent because you didn't listen. But we watched because something else is watching too. Not just you. It's not just us. Everything. And when they come, you'll wish Earth speaks first. And the signal ended. All of Earth's black ships vanished from visible space, and the stars felt colder. On a quiet farming world, the child asked his mother, "Will the humans come back?" The mother looked up at the night sky, the strange shapes still visible near the moons. They never left. She whispered, and somewhere in the dark between galaxies, something ancient stirred and paused, because it too had finally noticed. The small blue planet, and it hesitated, because Earth was watching. And this time, the galaxy was watching with them. For the first time in centuries, there was no one at the helm of the galaxy. The council once feared, once obeyed, was silent. Its halls stood empty. Its fleets drifted like corpses through space, blind and directionless. On 1,000 worlds. Flags bearing the council's sigil were torn down, burned, or quietly folded away. What replaced them wasn't conquest, wasn't war, it was stillness. And in that stillness, something new began to rise. A signal, unmistakable, pure Earth-origin. It echoed across all known sectors, bypassing encryption, skipping firewalls, arriving on every outpost, trade relay, diplomatic station, and civilian channel in the galaxy. It carried no demand, no threat, just one thing humanity has observed. Humanity now speaks. It's a signal repeated every hour, and every hour more of the galaxy stopped what they were doing. It's listened. In a dark chamber deep beneath Earth's northern pole, Admiral Raina Voss stood before the new Council Earth's real command. It's unseen for years, speaking only when it was time. Behind her stood General Cole, silent, arms crossed. And in front of them, glowing softly in the center of a sphere-shaped command room, hovered the new Accord Earth's response to the galaxy's betrayal. It wasn't a weapon, wasn't even revenge. It was a constitution, a list of laws, principles, guidelines. They were clean, clear, brutally, honest stuff. 1. No species may vote to enslave another. 2. No species may act without being seen. 3. All voices speak equally, or not at all. 4. Betrayal will never again be forgiven. 5. Silence is not weakness, it is patience. 6. All things can be watched. The message ended with a final line. This is not a treaty. This is the new truth. You can accept it, or vanish trying to resist it. There was no signature, just the Earth's seal. A circle of stars, single planet. Watching across fractured empires, leaders panicked. But not all. Some, especially those who had quietly opposed the Council's vote to chain Earth, accepted the new accord without hesitation. They called it justice. They called it balance. And some just called it the new reality. The Yaduan, long neutral, were the first to respond. They sent a message directly to Earth. We will honor your accord. In exchange, teach us. Show us how to see what you saw. Earth's response was brief. We already are. Polari dynasts, once major contributors to the Council fleet, signed next out of fear. It's not just fear of Earth's power, but fear of being left behind. They knew Earth wouldn't wait, and they were right. For every species that refused to acknowledge the new accord, things began to happen. Not loud things, quiet things. One lost control of its banking systems for 33 seconds. Another had its orbital traffic rerouted, causing minor chaos. A third discovered that all of its defense systems were now answering too. No one. Earth never claimed credit, but the message was clear. You don't need a seat at the table anymore. You just need to watch who's now sitting at the head. Meanwhile, Earth's black fleets reappeared. Not to invade, but to position above trade routes. Near former Council outposts, in the deep space zones, once thought unreachable. Each ship bore no insignia, no name, just black hulls, and the eerie silence that had now become Earth's symbol. They did not interfere. They simply existed, and no one dared move them. On a distant moon colony, a historian named Ari Vel sat broadcasting her independent stream to over 40 billion subscribers across species. She had once mocked Earth, like most academics trained under the Council's long shadow. But now, with the Council gone and Earth reshaping the order of the stars, she said something no one expected. I used to believe Earth was dangerous because they were emotional, angry, unpredictable, but that's not what makes them dangerous. What makes them dangerous is that they remember everything and they wait. They waited while the Council ridiculed them, waited through betrayal, and when they moved like gravity. You don't fight gravity. You adapt. Her words were replayed across colonies like scripture. And slowly, silently, species stopped laughing at Earth and started listening. Inside the deepest core of Earth's command system, Final directive was prepared. It was not an attack order, it was a map, a star chart showing every species, every border, every fleet movement the Council ever tracked. Earth had updated it, corrected it, expanded it. It now included blind zones regions, previously hidden by Council deception, resource planets stripped in secret, species silenced or removed. Earth had seen it all. Now they were sharing it. Not to boast, but to reveal the truth. Across the stars, eyes widened. Secrets long buried were exposed, lies unraveled, corruption laid bare. Council loyalists were dragged out of hiding not by soldiers, but by their own people, ashamed of what had been done. And all the while, Earth said nothing more, because it didn't need to. At the edge of known space, a small boy on a farming planet looked up at the night sky. Beside him, his father pointed to a dark shape moving slowly above the stars. "What's that?" the boy asked. The father stared in awe. "That's Earth." The boy frowned. "But it's not doing anything." The father nodded. "Exactly." Because the galaxy had learned, when Earth doesn't move, it means it's already there. When Earth doesn't speak, it means it's already watching. And when Earth finally rises, nothing is ever the same again.